There comes a moment in every human life when staying the same becomes more painful than changing. A moment when the person you've been, the habits you've lived in, the identity you've repeated for years, can no longer carry you into the future you desire. If you're listening to this right now, you already feel it. Something inside you is breaking open. Something old is dying. And something powerful is trying to be born. No one talks about this part, the part where transformation feels like destruction, where the life you've outgrown begins to crumble, where the patterns that once protected you now suffocate you, where the version of you that survived the past is no longer the version that can build your future. You cannot rebuild your life while clinging to an identity that's killing your potential. The old you must die first. This audiobook is not entertainment. It's not motivation. It's a demolition, a dismantling of everything that has kept you small, stuck, and silent. Together, we will break down the illusions that have shaped your past, cut the chains you've carried for far too long, and build a new self from the ground up with discipline, clarity, strength, and purpose. This is not easy work. Transformation never is. But it is sacred work. It is the work of rebirth, the work of becoming who you were always meant to be. So take a breath, settle into stillness, and prepare yourself, because the journey begins now. This is the moment you destroy the old you and rise from zero. Transformation never begins with inspiration. It begins with honesty, the kind of honesty that stings, that shakes you, that forces you to confront the version of yourself you've been avoiding for years. Most people spend their whole lives running from their own reflection. Not the reflection in the mirror, but the reflection inside. The reflection that shows their repeated failures, their broken promises, their untapped potential, their excuses dressed up as reasons. Facing yourself is painful because it requires you to acknowledge a truth most people never want to admit. The life you have right now is the life your old self created, and the life you want cannot be built by that same self. This is where your rebirth begins, not with goals, not with motivation, but with confrontation. A quiet, private confrontation between who you are and who you know you could be. Take a moment and breathe. Let your mind settle. Let the noise fade. Now ask yourself, where have I been hiding? Where have I been lying to myself? What patterns have I repeated even though they destroy me? What stories have I been using to justify staying small? These questions are uncomfortable, but discomfort is the doorway to awakening. The truth is this: the old you didn't fail because you were weak. The old you failed because you were asleep, trapped inside habits, beliefs, and fears that kept you locked in a version of life far below your potential. Think about it. How many times did you say you would change, but didn't? How many dreams did you bury under procrastination? How many opportunities slipped through your fingers because you weren't ready, weren't disciplined, weren't honest enough to admit you needed to evolve? This is not judgment. This is clarity. And clarity is liberation. Because once you see the truth, you can no longer pretend you don't. Here's something most people never understand. You cannot upgrade your life while letting the old you stay alive. One version of you must die for another to rise. Death, in this sense, is not destruction, it is transformation. It is the shedding of everything that no longer serves your future. The old you was built from survival, from fear, from old environments and old voices, from choices made when you didn't know any better, from pain you never healed, from beliefs you never questioned. But now, you know better. You've reached a point in your life where staying the same hurts more than changing, where your spirit is restless, where your potential is knocking louder than ever, refusing to let you fall back into comfort and forget who you could become. Right now, you are standing in a sacred space, a moment of awakening where you can see yourself clearly, maybe for the first time. Honor this moment. It is rare. It is powerful. It is the birthplace of transformation. But clarity without action is just another form of illusion. You cannot simply acknowledge the truth, you must decide what to do with it. Will you keep carrying the version of yourself that sabotaged your dreams, the version that settles, the version that avoids discomfort, the version that breaks promises, the version that apologizes for existing, the version that hides their power because they are afraid of what might happen if they finally stepped into it? Or will you allow that version to finally die? Ask yourself this honestly. What part of me must die so the real me can live? Maybe it's your laziness. Maybe it's your fear of judgment. Maybe it's your toxic comfort zone. Maybe it's the identity you inherited from your past, not chosen, but absorbed. Maybe it's the voice in your head that tells you to shrink, to doubt, to settle, to avoid. Whatever it is, it cannot go with you into the next chapter of your life. Every transformation has a cost. The cost is always the old self. There is no rebirth without a burial. And yes, this will feel painful, because you're not just letting go of habits. You're letting go of identities. You're letting go of who you thought you were. You're letting go of the safety of familiarity, even if that familiarity has been destroying you. Change requires grief. But once you move through that grief, something remarkable happens. You begin to feel light, clear, focused, awake. You begin to feel a power you haven't felt in years, maybe ever. A quiet, steady confidence. Not loud, not cocky, but a knowing that you are capable of more, a knowing that you are meant for more, a knowing that the life you desire is not impossible. It is simply incompatible with the old you. So, this is where chapter 1 ends, with truth, with clarity, with a decision. Not a loud decision, not a dramatic one, but a quiet, powerful internal declaration. I am done being who I used to be. Say it in your mind. Say it without fear. Say it from your chest. Let it echo inside you. This is the moment the old you begins to crumble. And that is exactly what you want. Because from this destruction, the new you will rise. Before you can rebuild anything in your life, you must first release what has been weighing you down. No matter how strong your vision is, no matter how disciplined your habits become, no matter how powerful your mindset grows, you cannot rise while dragging the chains of your past. This is the truth most people avoid. Not because they're weak, but because letting go often feels like losing a part of themselves. Humans cling to familiarity even when that familiarity is destroying them. But hear this clearly. Your past is not your home. Your past is not your identity. Your past is not a prison unless you choose to keep living inside it. Everyone carries memories that hurt, moments that scarred them, failures that shaped them, decisions they regret, people who betrayed them, environments that limited them. These memories sit in the mind like old rooms filled with dust, untouched, uncleaned, but constantly influencing everything around them. The past only holds power when you keep feeding it with your attention. Let me say that again, in a way your heart will remember. What you revisit, you reinforce. What you replay, you relive. If you want freedom, you must stop dragging yesterday into today. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself walking with heavy chains wrapped around your arms, your legs, your chest. Each link represents something different, a mistake, a heartbreak, a belief someone planted in you when you were too young to know better, a failure you never forgave yourself for, a wound you never healed, a role you played for so long you forgot it wasn't really you. Feel the weight of it. Feel how exhausting it is to move even a few steps forward with all of that holding you back. Now imagine yourself stopping not to rest, but to decide, to choose, to release. And with that choice, the chains begin to fall. This isn't fantasy. This is what happens internally when you finally say, "The past will not define me anymore." Let's get real for a moment. People often say, "I can't change because of what happened to me." But what they are really saying is, "I refuse to stop reliving it." The past happened. You can't rewrite events, but you can absolutely rewrite their meaning. This is the foundation of liberation. You cannot control what happened, but you can control who you become because of it. So here is your first powerful task, one that can shift your life. Ask yourself, what memories am I still feeding? What stories am I still repeating? What identities am I still wearing, even though they no longer fit? Who am I still trying to be for people who are no longer part of my future? Be brutally honest. Be courageous. This is not about hating the past. It's about no longer surrendering your future to it. Some memories will try to cling to you because you've carried them for so long they feel like home. But not everything familiar is meant to be kept. The old you lived in those memories. The new you cannot. Forgiveness is part of this process, not for others, but for yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean approving. It doesn't mean excusing. Forgiveness means releasing the emotional debt you keep charging yourself with. Think of it like this. Every time you replay someone's betrayal, you let them hurt you again. Every time you relive a failure, you become the judge and the punished. Every time you revisit a regret, you reopen a wound that was trying to heal. Liberation begins the moment you say, "I release this. It no longer controls me." You may not feel different instantly, but your spirit will. Your mind will. Your energy will. Letting go is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice. A decision repeated until it becomes natural. Letting go is a form of self-respect. A declaration that your future matters more than your suffering. And yes, sometimes letting go means letting go of people. People who keep you tied to old patterns. People who remind you of who you used to be. People who speak to your insecurities instead of your potential. People who are comfortable with your weakness but threatened by your growth. You don't need anger to walk away. You don't need a dramatic ending. You don't need closure from them. You only need alignment with yourself. When someone keeps you stuck, leaving them is not betrayal. It is an act of survival. Will it hurt? Yes. But not as much as staying small for the rest of your life. As you let go, something extraordinary begins to happen. Your mind becomes lighter. Your heart becomes clearer. Your future becomes visible again. You rediscover parts of yourself you forgot existed: ambition, hunger, hope, possibility. The old you lived in the past. The new you lives in the present and builds the future. So let this chapter end with a simple but powerful reminder. You cannot rebuild your life from zero while holding on to who you were. Release the past. Cut the chains. Set yourself free so you can rise. There is a truth most people never realize until it's too late. Your habits are the architects of your destiny, not your dreams, not your intentions, not your motivation, your habits. You do not rise to the level of your ambitions. You fall to the level of your systems. And the systems of your life are built from small, repeated actions, the things you do every single day, especially when no one is watching. Most people blame circumstances for their lack of progress, when in reality, they are prisoners of their own routines. Not dramatic routines, not evil routines, but quiet, subtle, comfortable habits that slowly drain their potential. Weak habits are silent killers. They destroy you quietly, softly, almost invisibly. You don't notice the damage in a day, or even a month. But over years, they steal your dreams, your discipline, your direction. Think about your own life. How many times have you said you wanted to grow, but your daily actions told a completely different story? How many mornings were stolen by the snooze button? How many evenings disappeared into scrolling, distractions, and empty entertainment? How many opportunities died because you kept telling yourself, "I'll start tomorrow"? Every weak habit is a vote for the old you, the version of yourself you are trying to destroy. If you want to rebuild from zero, you must first clear the ground. You cannot construct a powerful life on a foundation made of loopholes, excuses, and inconsistent behavior. So let us begin with the first step. Shine a light on your patterns. Weak habits survive in the dark. They thrive where honesty is absent. They grow when you're not paying attention. To destroy them, you must expose them. Imagine writing down your entire day with complete honesty. Not the polished version, the real version. How do you start your morning? How much time do you waste? What distractions do you allow? What promises do you break? What small choices do you make that sabotage your future? This exercise isn't to shame you. It is to awaken you. Clarity is power. Once you see your habits clearly, they lose their ability to control you silently. Understand that weak habits come from comfort. Weak habits always offer instant pleasure, a burst of dopamine, a brief escape, a moment of relief. But comfort has a price. The more you chase immediate relief, the more you sacrifice long-term growth. Most people aren't destroyed by big failures. They're destroyed by the accumulation of small, comfortable choices. A few minutes of procrastination, a skipped workout, a broken promise, a delay on something important. One by one, these choices sculpt a life of stagnation. If you want to become someone new, You must learn to prefer discomfort that builds you over comfort that breaks you. Remove. Don't negotiate. Weak habits cannot be negotiated with. They cannot be managed. They must be eliminated. The old you will try to bargain. I'll try to do better. I'll reduce it slowly. I'll quit eventually. But eventually is the favorite lie of the old identity. If you want true transformation, you must choose decisiveness. Not less scrolling. No scrolling during work hours. Not fewer excuses. Zero excuses. Not trying to waking up earlier. This level of clarity is how new identities are born. Replace the void. When you eliminate a weak habit, you create empty space. The mind hates empty space. If you don't intentionally fill it, the old habit will return. So, instead, replace procrastination with structured action. Replace scrolling with reading. Replace complaining with problem solving. Replace emotional reactions with pauses. Destruction alone isn't enough. Destruction must be paired with construction. Build identity through action. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you send a message to yourself. I am no longer that person. Identity is not created by affirmation. It is created by repetition. If you want to become someone who is disciplined, you must act disciplined. If you want to become someone who is focused, you must act focused. If you want to become someone who is unstoppable, you must act unstoppable. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Because each day is a vote. A vote for the old you, or a vote for the new you. Expect resistance. The old you will fight for survival. Weak habits will try to pull you back, not because you are incapable, but because your brain has been programmed by years of repetition. You may feel discomfort, cravings, restlessness, frustration. This is normal. This is part of rebirth. Discomfort is the friction between who you were and who you are becoming. Push through the resistance. On the other side of it lies power, real power. Begin with one weak habit. Transformation doesn't happen by changing everything at once. It begins with one deliberate decision. Pick one weak habit. Not 10, not 5. 1. Destroy it. Replace it. Master it. Once you eliminate one weak link, your identity shifts. And when your identity shifts, every area of your life begins to follow. Weak habits are the anchors of the old you. If you do not cut them, you will never move forward, no matter how much you dream, plan, or hope. So, let this chapter end with a declaration. I release the habits that shrink me. I choose the habits that build me. I am no longer controlled by the patterns of my past. Because when weak habits die, a stronger, clearer, more powerful version of you begins to rise. There comes a moment in every transformation when discipline, vision, and intentions are no longer enough. To rise from zero, you must develop something deeper, something unshakable, a warrior mindset. Not the loud, aggressive kind, not the ego-driven kind, but the quiet, focused, resilient strength that keeps you moving forward while everyone else falls apart. A warrior mindset is not about fighting the world. It is about mastering the battlefield within yourself. Because the greatest battles you will ever face are not external. They are the battles against your doubts, your fears, your emotions, your impulses, your old identity. If you cannot master your inner world, you will never control your outer world. So let's begin here. A warrior accepts discomfort as a path, not a threat. Most people live their lives trying to avoid discomfort. They avoid challenges. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid uncertainty, discipline, and pressure. But warriors understand a truth that changes everything. Discomfort is the entry price of greatness. Every time you choose the harder path over the easier one, you grow. Every time you push one step past your limits, you evolve. Every time you confront fear instead of avoiding it, you reclaim power. The old you avoided discomfort. The new you seeks it out. Because you know it is shaping you into someone unstoppable. A warrior is prepared. Even for what they cannot predict, hope is not a strategy. Motivation is not a weapon. Wishing is not preparation. A warrior prepares for difficulty long before difficulty appears. That means strengthening your mind daily, training your discipline even on calm days, practicing self-control when nothing is at stake, building routines that protect your focus, designing systems that support your future. Why? Because when life tests you, and it will, you must already be trained, already stable, already grounded. Challenges do not shape warriors. Challenges reveal the warriors who prepared in silence. A warrior masters their inner voice inside your mind. There are two voices: the voice of the old, you fearful, doubtful, reactive, small, and the voice of the new you, calm, strategic, grounded, powerful. A warrior chooses which voice to amplify. Most people obey their inner fear without realizing it. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. What if I fail? What will people think? These thoughts are not facts. They are echoes of old stories you inherited from the past. When the old voice speaks, a warrior answers, I hear you, but I do not obey you. I can handle this. I've done hard things before. I am capable of becoming more. Emotional mastery begins with mastering your self-talk. A warrior acts in spite of fear, not without it. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement with fear. Fear is your mind's way of saying, you're entering a new level. Fear often appears when you are expanding, not when you are failing. A warrior doesn't wait for fear to disappear. A warrior moves through it. Feel fear, acknowledge it, but do not bow to it. Do not let it dictate your decisions. Because every time you move forward, despite fear, you create undeniable proof of your strength. A warrior controls their emotions, not suppresses them. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you never feel sadness, anger, anxiety, or frustration. It means you don't act from those emotions. Warriors feel deeply, but they respond deliberately. When something triggers you, remember this rule: pause. Don't react. A 5-second pause can save you from 5 months of regret. In that pause, you reclaim control. In that pause, you choose your identity. In that pause, you remind yourself, I run my life. My emotions do not. Mastering your emotions is mastering your future. A warrior protects their mind from noise. The world is full of noise opinions, distractions, negativity, drama, and meaningless stimulation. Weak minds drown in noise. Warriors stay above it. That means spending less time around people who drain your energy and more time alone, sharpening your mind, consuming less negativity, and feeding yourself things that strengthen your clarity, cutting out gossip, comparison, useless content, and anything that weakens your discipline. Your attention is your greatest currency. A warrior protects it with intention. A warrior lives by discipline. Not emotion. Motivation will fail you. Inspiration will fade. Feelings will shift every day. This is why warriors live by discipline, the ability to act based on values, not moods. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is liberation. It frees you from being controlled by your impulses. When you don't feel like doing the work, that is when discipline is built. When you want to give up, that is when identity is formed. Every time you follow through, even when it's hard, you strengthen the warrior within. A warrior knows the mind is the first battlefield. Before you change your life, you must change your mind. Before you win in the world, you must win internally. The warrior mindset transforms you into someone who doesn't fold under pressure, doesn't run from challenges, doesn't break from setbacks, doesn't depend on motivation, doesn't let emotions sabotage progress, doesn't shrink when life gets harder. A warrior bends but does not break. They struggle, but they do not surrender. They fear, but they still move. So let this chapter end with a declaration, a quiet, internal one that reshapes your identity. I am no longer fragile. I am becoming a warrior. I master my mind, my emotions, and my reactions. Nothing outside of me controls me anymore. Because once the warrior within you awakens, the old you has no ground left to stand on. Rebuilding yourself requires courage, but cutting people out of your life, that requires a different kind of courage. The courage to choose your future over your familiarity. The truth is simple but hard to accept. You cannot rise while remaining in the same environment that kept you small. You cannot build a new life while surrounded by people who only know the old you. And you absolutely cannot become your highest self if you allow toxic influences to drain the energy you need to grow. Most people never reach their potential because they're too afraid to disappoint the very people who benefit from their stagnation. Think about that. Every person in your life either expands you, either inspires you, or diminishes you, either nourishes you, or poisons you slowly. Some of the people closest to you, friends, family, co-workers, may not even realize the impact they have, but you feel it. You feel the heaviness in your chest when you're around them. You feel the shift in your energy after every conversation. You feel the smallness, the self-doubt, the old patterns creeping back in. Toxicity doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It shows up as subtle criticism, disguised sarcasm, or helpful advice that always comes wrapped in discouragement. It shows up in people who expect you to shrink so they can stay comfortable. In people who panic when you grow because your evolution exposes their stagnation. But here is the truth you must anchor into. You are not obligated to carry anyone into your future. Not a friend. Not a relative. not a partner, not anyone who dims the light you are trying to ignite in yourself. Walking away does not make you cruel. It makes you conscious. There is a version of you that no longer fits inside the versions of relationships you once tolerated. And that's okay. Growth is supposed to create distance. Healing is supposed to create boundaries. Self-respect is supposed to make you unavailable to the things that harmed you before. Protecting your energy is not selfishness, it is survival. It is preservation. It is wisdom. When you eliminate toxic influences, you create space for clarity, space for strength, space for people who support the person you are becoming, not the person you used to be. And yes, distance will feel uncomfortable at first. You will feel guilt. You will feel fear. You will feel the pull of old emotional obligations. But ask yourself this: what is the cost of staying? What is the price of remaining surrounded by people who do not honor your growth? What future are you sacrificing to maintain old ties? You do not have to confront anyone violently. You do not need dramatic goodbyes. Sometimes the most powerful exit is a quiet one less time. Fewer conversations, energy withheld, boundaries strengthened. You owe no explanations for protecting your peace. You owe no guilt for choosing yourself. You owe no loyalty to people who are disloyal to your growth. And toxicity isn't just people. It's environment. It's habits reinforced by those environments. It's digital noise, social media, gossip, negativity, drama, the constant overstimulation that keeps your mind exhausted and unfocused. Look at what you consume. Is it building you or breaking you? Is it elevating you or numbing you? Is it fueling your new identity or feeding your old wounds? If it weakens you, it doesn't belong. If it drains you, remove it. If it distracts you, detach from it. Your future requires energy. Protect that energy at all costs. And here is the beautiful part. The moment you clear away toxic influences, life begins to rearrange itself. The right people start showing up. The right mentors. The right opportunities. The right environments. The right relationships. Your spirit always knew who belonged with you. Your growth simply reveals it. Let this chapter close with a reminder you must never forget. You are allowed to change environments. You are allowed to protect your energy without apology. Because the old you tolerated toxicity. The old you accepted low standards. The old you stayed in places your soul had already left. But the new you, the rising you, the becoming you, understands that your future is too important to be shaped by people who refuse to grow with you. Cut the chains. Walk toward the lightness, and step into the life that requires a stronger, clearer, more protected version of you. There is a moment in every transformation where destruction ends and creation begins. A moment when the old identity has fallen apart, and you find yourself standing in an empty space, a quiet, sacred emptiness. Terrifying for some, liberating for others. But for you, this emptiness is opportunity. Because zero is not nothing. Zero is possibility. When everything old has been stripped away, the habits, the narratives, the past, the influences something extraordinary becomes available to you, the ability to rebuild yourself on purpose. Most people never experience this. They live as continuations of their past, not creations of their future. They allow their identity to form accidentally through other people's expectations, childhood environments, societal pressure, and old emotional wounds. They never stop to ask the question, who do I want to become? But you are different. You are here, in this chapter, because you've chosen to begin again consciously, deliberately, intentionally. You've chosen to rebuild from zero. Starting from zero means letting go of the identity that was shaped by survival. It means choosing a new identity shaped by vision. Take a slow breath. Close your eyes for a moment. And imagine the version of yourself you know you could become, the version who wakes up with clarity, walks with confidence, thinks with discipline, and lives with purpose. Imagine their posture, their calmness, their boundaries, their routines, their skills, their strength. Imagine the life that version of you lives, the environment they create, the relationships they choose, the work they commit to, the energy they give off. This isn't fantasy. This is your blueprint. The future is not something you step into, it's something you design from the inside out. To rebuild yourself from zero, you must shift from thinking about goals to thinking about identity. Goals create moments. Identity creates destiny. Anyone can set a goal, lose weight, make more money, become more disciplined. But goals collapse without the identity to sustain them. You do not rise above the person you believe you are. You always act in alignment with your identity. Even your unwanted behaviors come from an identity you've carried for years. The old you said, "This is just who I am." The new you asks, "Who do I choose to be?" Identity is chosen, not inherited. You choose it through repetition, awareness, discipline, and intention. You choose it through the habits you practice, the boundaries you set, the thoughts you reinforce, the environments you allow yourself to stay in. Every day, with every action, you are voting for the person you want to become. Each choice is not just a behavior, it is a declaration of identity. When you show up even when you don't feel like it, you're telling your mind, "I am the kind of person who keeps going." When you resist distraction, you're saying, "I am the kind of person who values my focus." When you choose discipline over impulse, you're saying, "I am the kind of person who controls my life." Identity is built in the invisible moments when no one is watching. Now, let's go deeper, deeper into the foundation of identity. Values are not abstract concepts. They are the compass that determines every decision you make. When you live without values, you drift. When you live with values, you direct. Ask yourself softly, without judgment, what do I want my life to stand for? What matters to me more than convenience, more than comfort, more than the approval of others? Do you value growth? Then your new life must be built around challenges that stretch you. Do you value freedom? Then your habits, your finances, your environment must be designed to free you, not trap you. Do you value peace? Then anything that steals your peace must be removed without hesitation. Do you value integrity? Then your words, actions, and inner standards must align. Values aren't wishes. Values are commitments. And when your identity aligns with your values, your life begins to feel like it finally fits. Rebuilding from zero asks you to make a profound shift. Stop trying to change the world around you. Start changing the world within you. Because your internal world is what creates your external reality. Clarity inside creates clarity outside. Order inside creates order outside. Strength inside creates strength outside. So pause for a moment. Listen to your breath. Feel the quietness of this chapter. You are standing on new ground, now, a ground where nothing is fixed. Nothing is predetermined. Nothing is holding you back. You are free to build. Ask yourself, what version of me would I be proud to wake up as every day? What identity would make the struggle worth it? What future would feel aligned? Honest, powerful, and true. Whatever comes to mind, that is the blueprint. That is who your soul has been waiting for you to become. And now, you are no longer rebuilding from memory. You are rebuilding from vision. You are no longer shaped by what was. You are shaped by what could be. Let this chapter end with a quiet but unshakable declaration. A declaration that marks the beginning of your rebirth. I am no longer tied to who I was. I am becoming the person I choose to be. My identity, my values, my future all redesigned with intention. I rebuild myself from zero, because from zero, everything becomes possible. Once you rebuild your identity, once you define who you are becoming, there is only one way to make that identity real. You must create systems that support it. Most people never change because they rely on motivation. They wait for good days, good moods, good energy, good timing, and when any of those disappear, their progress collapses. But a life built on motivation is a life built on sand. It shifts, it sinks, it never holds. A life built on systems, however, becomes unshakable. Systems are the invisible architecture of transformation. They are the quiet routines, the consistent behaviors, the daily rituals that align your actions with your future, even when you feel tired, even when you feel doubtful, even when life becomes chaotic. If identity is who you choose to be, then systems are how you become that person. And here is the truth most people never understand. Your future is not determined by the big decisions you make once a year. It is determined by the small decisions you make every single day. Those quiet habits, those repetitive actions, those micro-choices that feel insignificant, are shaping your destiny more than any moment of inspiration ever will. When you build unshakable daily systems, you remove randomness from your life. You remove guessing. You remove emotional decision-making. You remove the chaos of waking up each day unsure of what version of yourself will show up. With systems, you stop relying on willpower. You rely on structure. Imagine a plane flying across the world. The pilot does not manually adjust every second. The autopilot system keeps it on course. That is what your routines should do for you, carry you forward even when you're not consciously pushing. The old you lived reactively, responding to moods, impulses, and distractions. The new you lives intentionally, guided by systems that reflect your vision. To create such systems, you must begin by recognizing that your day is not a single block of time. It is a series of openings, opportunities to reinforce the identity you are building. Your morning is an opening. Your evening is an opening. Your transitions, your pauses, your moments of silence, each one is an opening to recalibrate who you are becoming. A powerful day does not begin with chaos. It begins with clarity. Imagine waking up, and the first actions you take are aligned with your highest self. Not your phone, not your past habits, but your intentional identity. A powerful morning system doesn't need to be complicated. It only needs to be consistent. A moment of stillness, a moment of reflection, a moment of movement, a moment of direction. These small anchors can transform the emotional texture of your entire day. Evenings hold equal power. Most people let their nights dissolve into distraction, overstimulation, and exhaustion. But evenings are when your subconscious absorbs the most. Evenings are where your mind decides what kind of day you will have tomorrow. Your night routine is not about restriction, it is about self-respect. It is a ritual of closure, of release, of preparation. When you close your day with intention, you open your next day with clarity. But systems extend far beyond mornings and nights. They include how you manage your focus, how you protect your time, how you respond to stress, how you handle setbacks, how you nourish your mind and body, how you reconnect with your identity throughout the day. A strong system does not wait for motivation. A strong system says, "This is what I do. This is who I am." And then your actions follow. Automatically. Like breathing. There will be days when your mind tries to negotiate with you. Days when you feel tired. Days when resistance whispers old stories. Days when your emotions try to pull you back into the past. But when you have systems, you don't crumble. You don't spiral. You don't lose momentum. You simply return to your structure. You return to your anchors. You return to the habits that carry you forward when your emotions aren't cooperating. This is why systems matter more than goals. Goals require effort. Systems generate results effortlessly over time. A goal says, "I want to run a marathon." A system says, "I run every morning." A goal says, "I want to be healthy." A system says, "I nourish my body daily." A goal says, "I want to be disciplined." A system says, "I do the hard things, even when I don't feel like it." Systems transform identity into action, and action into destiny. But there is a deeper level to this, a level most people overlook. Your systems must reflect your values, not your impulses. If you value growth, your systems should push you gently beyond your comfort. If you value clarity, your systems should create mental order. If you value freedom, your systems should remove unnecessary obligations. If you value peace, your systems should reduce overwhelm and noise. A system that contradicts your values will always fail. A system that aligns with your values becomes effortless. As you build these daily structures, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. Your old identity becomes incompatible with your new life. You can no longer behave like the old you, because your systems won't allow it. You cannot slip back into stagnation, because your routines pull you forward. You cannot disappear into chaos, because your structure holds you steady. This is how transformation becomes permanent. Real change is not made in grand gestures. It is made in consistent micro-actions. It is not made in inspiration. It is made in repetition. It is not made in emotion. It is made in discipline. So, imagine the version of yourself 1 year from now, the version who lives by powerful systems instead of impulses. They wake up clear. They move with purpose. They respond with calm. They progress without hesitation. They no longer search for motivation because they have designed their life in a way that makes progress inevitable. This is not fantasy. This is the outcome of what you are building now. Let this chapter settle in your mind with a quiet truth. You do not need to be extraordinary to transform your life. You only need extraordinary consistency. And consistency is born from systems. Systems that support you. Systems that elevate you. Systems that remind you of who you are becoming. Transform your days, and you will transform your life. Let this chapter close with a declaration that seals your commitment. I build systems that reflect my future, not my past. My days follow my identity. My systems make me unshakable. Rebuilding yourself from zero is not just about mindset. It's not only about healing your past, mastering your emotions, or creating disciplined systems. Those are the foundation, but foundation alone is not enough. To rise in the world, you must become valuable, not loud, not flashy, not attention-seeking. Valuable. Value is what makes you impossible to ignore. Value is what gives you choice, freedom, and leverage. Value is what transforms you from someone who hopes into someone who attracts. The world does not reward people for existing. The world rewards people for becoming exceptional at something. And here is the uncomfortable truth. If you don't intentionally build value, the world will treat you as replaceable. But the moment you develop rare skills, the moment you build deep competence, the moment your work speaks for you, even when you're silent, everything changes. Becoming valuable begins when you decide to stop chasing validation and start chasing mastery. Mastery is not about being better than others. It is about being better than your past self. It is the quiet, consistent pursuit of excellence, day after day, even when no one notices. Most people avoid mastery because it requires patience. It asks you to stay with discomfort. It demands repetition. It exposes your weaknesses. And it forces you to confront how far you still must go. But this is where true growth begins, not in the moments you feel confident, but in the moments you feel challenged. Skills are the currency of your future. Every skill you master becomes a tool you can use to create opportunity. Every hour invested into your craft builds a deeper reservoir of confidence. Every new ability you acquire becomes a lever you can pull to shape your destiny. Think of skills as seeds. Individually, they seem small. But when nurtured, they grow into forests that can feed your entire life. The question is not, what skill should I learn? The deeper question is, What skill will make me invaluable in the future I want to build? Imagine the version of you 5 years from now, the powerful, clear, confident version of yourself, living the life you envision. Picture what they can do effortlessly. Picture the abilities they possess. Picture the qualities that make them respected, trusted, and admired. Those abilities are not random. They are the skills you must begin building now. Becoming valuable requires you to adopt a new identity, the identity of someone who learns relentlessly. Someone who no longer waits for permission. Someone who invests time into growth instead of entertainment. Someone who does the work even when the rewards are not immediate. Competence creates self-respect. When you become good at something truly good, you carry yourself differently. Your voice becomes steadier. Your decisions become clearer. Your boundaries become stronger. Your presence becomes magnetic. Not because you're trying to impress, but because capability radiates quietly. Your competence becomes your confidence. And then something profound begins to happen. Opportunities that were once invisible start revealing themselves. People begin seeking you out. Doors begin to open effortlessly. Your reputation begins to work for you, even when you're not in the room. This is leverage, the quiet force that multiplies your value. Leverage is when your skills, your work, your systems, or your reputation continue producing results even when you're resting. Leverage is how you break free from trading time for money. Leverage is how you escape the limitations of your circumstances. Leverage is how you transform effort into exponential growth. The world opens for those who bring value to it. Not once, not occasionally, but consistently, predictably, undeniably. To become extremely valuable, you must also embrace something most people fear: the beginner stage. The beginning feels awkward. You will stumble. You will feel slow. You will feel behind others. Your ego will resist, whispering that you're not good enough, not talented enough, not ready. Ignore it. Every master was once a beginner. Every expert was once clumsy. Every skilled person once had no idea what they were doing. The difference is simple: they did not quit. When you stick with something long enough, the world has no choice but to notice. Consistency is rarer than talent. Persistence is rarer than intelligence. Patience is rarer than opportunity. This is why valuable people rise, not because they are special, but because they refuse to stop. Becoming valuable also requires you to break an illusion. You do not need to excel at everything. You only need to excel at a few things that matter deeply to your future. Choose skills that amplify your identity. Choose skills that create freedom. Choose skills that compound over time. Choose skills that make you undeniable. Once you become exceptional at even one thing, your entire life begins to reorganize around that excellence. But beneath all this, there is an even deeper truth. Skills only matter when they are paired with character. A talented person who lacks discipline collapses under pressure. A skilled person who lacks integrity builds nothing that lasts. A competent person who lacks emotional stability sabotages their own progress. Your value is the combination of your abilities and your character, your external skill and your internal strength, your knowledge and your self-control. This is why rebuilding yourself from zero is so powerful. When you rise from nothing, you build both the skill set and the mindset, the competence and the confidence, the ability and the identity. Let this chapter sink in slowly as you breathe. You do not need to be extraordinary to begin, but you must begin to become extraordinary. Every hour you invest in yourself moves you closer to the life you dream of. Every skill you build becomes a stepping stone toward a future where you are valued, respected, and sought after. You are not starting from weakness. You are starting from potential. And let this chapter close with a declaration: I become valuable by becoming capable. I build skills that elevate my future. I grow so powerful that my value speaks without words. Because when you become valuable, you become unstoppable. When you destroy the old version of yourself and rebuild from zero, one truth becomes painfully clear. You cannot create a new life with the same financial identity that built the old one. Money is not just math. Money is psychology, identity, discipline, and energy. It reflects how you think, what you tolerate, and what you believe you deserve. If your financial reality has been unstable, unpredictable, or stressful, it wasn't because you lacked potential. It was because you were building your life on a foundation made of sand. This chapter is about pouring concrete where there used to be cracks. A bulletproof financial foundation is not built on luck, not on sudden opportunities, not on one big break. It is built quietly, intentionally, and consistently. And it begins long before you earn more. It begins when you decide to think differently about money. Most people never rebuild financially because they cling to their old patterns. They spend to feel better. They chase quick rewards. They avoid looking at the uncomfortable truth of where their money goes. They tell themselves, "I'll change when I earn more." But earning more only exposes their lack of control. You cannot escape money problems by increasing income. You escape money problems by increasing identity. The wealthy do not become wealthy because of how much money they make. They become wealthy because of how they behave when they have money, how they act when they don't, and the rules they refuse to break, even when no one is watching. A bulletproof foundation begins with awareness. When you rebuild from zero, you develop a new relationship with money, one rooted in clarity instead of avoidance. You stop lying to yourself about where your money goes. You stop pretending things will magically fix themselves. You stop letting emotions dictate decisions that require logic. Facing your financial truth is uncomfortable, but it is the discomfort that frees you. Once you see clearly, you begin to shift into a new identity. The identity of someone who takes responsibility for what they build. The identity of someone who no longer uses money to escape feelings. The identity of someone who respects every dollar because they respect themselves. With this new identity, your money starts to stabilize. You no longer swing between extremes, scarcity and overspending, excitement and regret, discipline and chaos. Instead, you move with consistency. Consistency builds safety. Safety builds confidence. Confidence builds wealth. A bulletproof financial foundation also requires boundaries, strong ones. You stop giving your time and energy to things that drain your resources. You stop trying to impress people who don't care. You stop saying yes to obligations that keep you broke. Your money begins to reflect your values. not your impulses. As you rebuild, you'll notice something interesting the moment you take money seriously. Opportunities appear that were invisible before. You begin noticing ways to earn more. You begin catching mistakes you used to overlook. You begin understanding leverage, timing, value, and risk. Money flows differently to a focused mind. And yet, the most powerful part of rebuilding your financial foundation is emotional neutrality. Most people lose money not because of bad decisions, but because of emotional reactions, fear that makes them freeze, excitement that makes them overspend, insecurity that makes them compare, impatience that makes them chase shortcuts. When you rebuild yourself, you learn to detach. You stop reacting. You stop spiraling. You stop letting your bank account dictate your self-worth. Instead, you adopt a quiet, steady approach toward wealth. You make calm decisions. You think long-term. You prioritize sustainability over speed. And suddenly, your financial life transforms not because you're doing more, but because you're doing the right things with the right mindset. A bulletproof foundation also means understanding the power of habits. Not dramatic changes, not overnight success stories, but small, repeated behaviors that compound like interest. Every disciplined choice strengthens your foundation. Every intentional purchase is a brick. Every hour spent learning is reinforcement. Every mistake analyzed, not avoided, becomes armor. Wealth is not built in a moment of inspiration. It is built in the silence of repeated discipline. As you rebuild, you will also realize something profound. Money is not the goal. Money is the amplifier. If you are lost, money amplifies the chaos. If you are grounded, money amplifies your impact. If you are undisciplined, money magnifies your mistakes. If you are intentional, money magnifies your freedom. This is why rebuilding yourself from zero is powerful. You are constructing a version of you that can handle abundance without collapsing under it. A strong financial foundation gives you choices. Choices give you freedom. Freedom gives you peace. And peace gives you the mental clarity to continue growing. There is one more element, perhaps the most underestimated of all, who you believe yourself to be financially. If deep down you still see yourself as someone who struggles, someone who is bad with money, someone who is always trying to catch up, then no amount of external progress will stick. Your mind will sabotage anything that contradicts your identity. But when you tell yourself and show yourself, I am someone who manages money well, when you repeatedly act like someone who respects and multiplies their resources, your external reality shifts to match that inner truth. Identity drives behavior. Behavior creates results. Results reinforce identity. This loop either destroys you or elevates you. In rebuilding your life, choose the loop that elevates. Let this chapter close with a declaration steady, deep, and spoken as the new version of you. I build a financial foundation that cannot be shaken. I respect my resources. I move with clarity. I make powerful choices. I am becoming someone wealth flows to and stays with. Because from this point forward, money is no longer chaos. Money is no longer stress. Money is no longer a battlefield. Money becomes a tool, a partner, a source of stability. And soon, with discipline and identity, money becomes the quiet proof that you rebuilt your life from zero and rebuilt it well. Every transformation reaches a moment when you are no longer who you used to be, but not yet fully who you are becoming. A moment suspended between two worlds, the past that shaped you and the future that calls you. This moment is the rebirth. Rebirth is not loud. It does not announce itself with fireworks. It begins quietly, internally, in the way you think, the way you move, the way you choose, the way you carry yourself. Rebirth begins when your actions finally align with the identity you've been rebuilding from the inside. You know you are entering your 2.0 self when the old patterns feel foreign. The old habits feel heavy. The old reactions feel unnatural. It's as if your mind is gently letting you know, we don't live there anymore. The rebirth is not a switch you flip. It is a rising, slow, steady, undeniable. You begin waking up with intention instead of confusion. You begin moving with clarity instead of chaos. You begin choosing discipline over impulses, alignment over approval, growth over comfort. Things that once triggered you no longer hold the same power. People who once controlled your emotions can no longer reach the core of you. Environments that kept you stagnant now feel suffocating because your spirit has outgrown the space. Rebirth feels like strength returning to places inside you that were silent for years. It feels like breathing with a deeper chest. It feels like finally stepping into your own life after watching it from the sidelines for too long. You are not just changing. You are evolving. The 2.0 version of you doesn't chase validation. They validate themselves through action. They don't fear judgment. They walk with purpose. They don't cling to the past. They build the future with clean hands and clear eyes. This version of you understands something the old version never could. Your life is a reflection of the standards you hold, the boundaries you protect, the discipline you practice, and the identity you embody daily. Rebirth is the moment you stop negotiating with your old self. You stop compromising your vision. You stop apologizing for your growth. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You step forward, even if it feels new, even if it feels uncertain, even if you don't feel fully ready. Because the 2.0 version of you does not wait for readiness. They create readiness through action. And as you rise, you will notice something profound. Your life begins reorganizing itself around your new identity. New opportunities begin appearing. New relationships gravitate toward you. New paths become visible that the old you could never see. Because the frequency you operate on has changed, and life always responds to frequency. Rebirth is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming who you were always meant to be before the world told you otherwise. Before fear shaped you. Before doubt limited you. Before trauma hardened you. Before expectations imprisoned you. Rebirth is a return to your power, to your clarity, to your purpose, to your truth. The old you survived, but the new you will thrive. This version of you trusts themselves. This version of you makes decisions from alignment, not insecurity. This version of you honors your energy, protects your peace, and builds your life with intention. This version of you does not collapse when life gets heavy, you bend. You breathe. You recalibrate. But you do not break, because you have rebuilt your foundation from zero. And now, everything you build will stand. The rebirth also brings a new relationship with failure. You no longer see it as proof that you are unworthy. You see it as refinement. Every setback becomes data. Every disappointment becomes direction. Every delay becomes protection. Nothing is wasted anymore. Everything becomes useful to your evolution. This is the power of your 2.0 identity. You don't fear life. You shape it. Your mind becomes quieter. Your heart becomes clearer. Your vision becomes sharper. Your standards become non-negotiable. There will be moments of doubt. Moments when the old you tries to pull you back with familiar whispers. You can't do this. You're not ready. You're not enough. But you will no longer bow to that voice. You will recognize it as the echo of a past life, a life you buried willingly. And with each step forward, the whisper fades. Because the 2.0 version of you speaks louder. I am capable. I am evolving. I choose my path. Rebirth is not a single moment. It is a lifestyle. It is the daily practice of honoring who you are becoming. It is the commitment to show up as your highest self, even on your lowest days. It is the devotion to a future you refuse to abandon. And now, as this chapter closes, as this entire book approaches its final breath, let this truth settle deep within your chest. You did not come this far just to improve. You came this far to transform. You are the architect of your new identity. You are the creator of your new path. You are the author of your rebirth. The old you is gone, not forgotten, but honored because its purpose was to bring you here. And now, you step forward into the life built for your 2.0 self. Let these words be your declaration. I rise as the upgraded version of myself. I embody the identity I have built. I walk in strength, clarity, and purpose. This is my rebirth, and I do not turn back. Welcome to your new life. Welcome to your next level. Welcome to the version of you that was waiting behind every struggle, every lesson, every moment of awakening. You have rebuilt from zero. And now you will rise beyond anything you once believed possible. You've just walked through the fire. And you didn't just survive it, you used it to burn away the version of you that could no longer carry the weight of your future. Now listen closely. There is a moment in every transformation when the world grows quiet. Your mind becomes still. And something inside you whispers, this is who I really am. That moment is now. You are no longer the person who doubted themselves. You are no longer the person who settled, who shrank, who carried fears that weren't even yours. You have destroyed the version of you that lived on autopilot, and you have rebuilt yourself from zero with intention, with clarity, with power. From this point on, you move differently. You think differently. You choose differently. You walk into rooms with a quiet certainty. The certainty of someone who has met their old self, buried them, and stepped forward, reborn. The world won't understand it at first. People may look at you and see the same face, the same body, the same smile, but they will feel the difference. Because your energy has changed. Your boundaries have changed. Your standards have changed. Your destiny has changed. You are no longer reacting to life. You are designing it. Whatever broke you has become your blueprint. Whatever hurt you has become your strength. Whatever tested you has become your training. You didn't just rebuild. You evolved. And as you close your eyes tonight, let yourself feel the truth of this one sentence. My old life is behind me. My new identity begins now. Let that truth sink into your subconscious. Let it rewrite the beliefs that once held you back. Let it guide your decisions, your habits, your discipline, your energy starting tomorrow morning, starting tonight, starting this very breath, because you did not come this far to return to who you used to be. You came this far to rise into the version of you that was waiting all along. This is your rebirth. Own it, live it, become it. If this audiobook awakened something inside you, hit subscribe and join our community of nighttime transformers, people who grow while the world sleeps. Comment below, I rise from zero. Say it once. Say it with intention. Say it as the new identity you now embody. And tonight, sleep with the knowing that you're not going back. The next chapter of your life has already begun. Welcome to your 2.0 self. I'll meet you in the next audiobook.